SwimOutlet.com delivers the best online shopping experience. With an extensive selection and the lowest prices, you're guaranteed to find the product you need. Here's what you get. Free shipping on all orders over $49. Free 1 to 2 day shipping on all orders over $99. All orders placed by 6 p.m. ship out the same day. Shop at SwimOutlet.com, the web's most popular swim shop.
Welcome to Day 8 of Race Day, the final day of analysis of Olympic swimming in London on this Saturday, August 4th, 2012, brought to you by SwimOutlet.com, the web's most popular swim shop. I'm your host, Jeff Commings. We just saw what could possibly be Michael Phelps' final race, as well as an amazing world record in the mile and dominance by the United States in the medley relays. There in the London Aquatic Center to witness it all was Swimming World correspondents John Lohn and Tiffany Elias, and they join me today via Skype. Good to see you guys again. How you doing?
One more time. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Jeff.
So let's get started today just to talk about Michael Phelps. If his promise is true, today was the last time we'll ever see him race. I mean, to me, I guess I just didn't really comprehend the finality of it until he was on the award stand. What was it like for you guys to watch his final swim?
It was neat to be here for it, Jeff. I was fortunate enough to be there for the 8 gold medals in Beijing and to watch it all come full circle here. Also having been there when he was 15, just making his first appearance on the nationals or international stage. It's kind of in some ways sad that it's over, but also he went out in a fitting way. So it was appropriate that it ended the way it did tonight. A gold medal, people can remember, 50.73. That'll be the last split he swam that's as much time as his last race took. So it was a perfect way to go out.
He looked so happy and comfortable on the award stand at the very end. It just seemed like there was so much weight that was finally lifted off his shoulders that he just looked like he could finally breathe back there. I'm not certain. I have a hard time buying into that freestyle or hunterfly for Rio, but it was exciting to be able to see that.
Yeah, I think he could do one of those hundreds. He just at least come back for a relay gold in Rio is not a realm of possibility. Real quick, Tiffany and John, we'll start with Tiffany first. On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think is the possibility he comes back? 5 being definite.
I would say 4.
John?
I think it's good because if he wants to do that 100 freestyle, he only has to make top 6. I don't think he needs to come back and try to make a statement like he did in 2008 and 2012. I think he's going to want to, but I think that it would be very, not easy, that's not the right word, but realistic for him to make the 100 freestyle, at least a relay, and then with at least a year's training, he could probably pull off a good 100 fly to be competitive in that event as well.
What do you think, John?
I'm going to go with a 1. I think he's done. And I think he's at peace with his decision. He's done everything he set out to do in the sport. There's nothing more. Coming back does him no good. It doesn't give him.
Fun.
It might be fun, but this is a guy who so badly, at times, it sounds like wants to get away from the sport. He's tired. He's done. And I don't think anything's going to change his mind from this point forward.
Yeah, you both make some.
Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind seeing him. I just don't think it'll happen.
Yeah, you both make some interesting arguments, and like I said, I'm kind of on the 4 with Tiffany. But I won't be surprised if he comes back, and I won't be surprised if at 2015 we're all sitting there wondering if he's going to show up and he doesn't. Well, so be it. We'll have plenty of people to fill his shoes. Well, maybe not fill it completely, but at least enough. All right, so we had 4 finals tonight. The first one was the women's 50 free, and kind of as expected, Kromowidjojo won the race, 24:05, 2 100s faster than her semi, broke the Olympic record. Alexandra Hersemenia split the Dutch, got second, and then Marlene Veldhuis, the new mom, got third. What a great performance by Marlene. I mean, it just goes to show having a baby and coming back from that is there's a little bit of boost there. John, what did you think about that final?
I think it went the way we exactly thought it would. Kromowidjojo follows through with what Berta Steffen did 4 years ago. She doubles in the sprints, and she did it under a lot of pressure. She had been so far and above everybody else this year, and and since really the end of Worlds last year, that she was such an overwhelming favorite. The pressure can get to somebody like that. She showed no signs of buckling, winning both of them commandingly, and that's a testament to her being mentally strong and being able to handle the heat that was on her.
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be the same position that Britta Steffen was in 2008 to see how long she can hold on to this dominance. You know, Britta did it the next year at World Championships and then couldn't really hold on to it. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how long that Dutch sprinting dominance can last, because these girls are kind of getting up there in years, and it doesn't look like there's anybody out there to really replace them right away. But, you know, anything is possible. All right, the men's 1500. Sun Yang almost broke that 14:30 barrier, John, that you were thinking he was going to do. 14:31. Ryan Cochran moves up from bronze in 2008 to silver at 14:39. And Usmaluli, the defending gold medalist, got there with the bronze, 14:40.31. Tiffany, I was actually kind of shocked that for the whole, pretty much the whole race, he was about 2.5 to 2 seconds ahead of his world record pace. Were you as concerned as I was that he was going to be able to hold on to that?
Not really. I think that race, we knew he was going to be the clear favorite, that he was going to be around that world record. I think it was great to see him that far ahead of it from the beginning. But I want to rewind real quick and just to acknowledge his false start. That was almost devastating. My stomach was just in a complete knot when Sun Yang dove into the water. And then afterwards, I'm not quite sure on what the rule is, but we saw Bria Larson false start in the 100 breaststroke earlier. They let her swim because it seemed like there was maybe a sound malfunction. But after Sun Yang got out of the water, he sat down on the chair, and we thought, is he done? Is he going to get up and swim? So it was just so intense. I mean, he had to have his heart must have been racing. So I think that might have helped him get off to perhaps a quicker start than normal, which is how he was able to get under that world record pace so early on. But that race went down exactly how I thought it would for him.
Yeah, I think I was holding my breath in that minute or so from the time he got out to the time he's still in the blocks, because it seemed to me like it wasn't his fault. It was just a lot of crowd noise, and he couldn't hear, as he said in the press conference afterwards. But, you know, unlike Larson, who wasn't necessarily a medal favorite, this guy was the one that was going to win the gold medal no matter what. And kind of like Taewon Park in the 400 was like, this is just going to be kind of shocking to not have the guy in the race. But, yeah, a really good call on the officials' part. John, let's go over the splits. As we said, he was 2.6, 2.5 seconds ahead of world record pace the whole time, holding about 58.6 the whole way. His final 50, 25.6, which is not surprising for those that saw his swim last year. But just to kind of compare it to what his final 50 was in his 200, 27 flat in his last 50 on his 200. Why do you think he was able to go faster in the mile in his last 50 than he was in the 200?
That's a good question. It really doesn't add up, Jeff, but which tells me then that we're going to see a lot more out of this guy in the 200 and the 400, where I still think he's going to be sub 14:30 at some point in the 1500. Maybe he's just getting going, and we're going to see some really big things. 339's there for that 400. This guy, he potentially could be the world swimmer of the year, and is only scratching the surface of, I think, his potential, which is vast.
Yeah, do you agree that he's kind of like the way Missy Franklin was in her freestyles, her sprint freestyles? He's just kind of getting his quote-unquote feet wet in that middle distance freestyle, and I think he just wasn't really sure how to pace it. Yeah, so we'll just have, next year could be that year, John. We could see that 339 World Championships. All right, closing out the medley relays, the women just absolutely dominant from the start. World record 352.05. Australia got in there for second, and Japan was third. There wasn't any doubt that there was going to be a United States gold medal, but I think we were all kind of crossing our fingers, hoping that Missy Franklin can get that world record in the 100 back. Fell a little short, but just a great performance by her, because I don't know if, just kind of looking at her behind the blocks, it looked like maybe she was a little bit concerned about, this is my chance to get the gold medal. She didn't have that same look she had before the individual 100 back. Tiffany, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think like you said, we knew that they were going to be the clear favorite here in this race. But Missy's performances have been a little up and down in that she's had some great ones, and then she's had some ones where we thought she'd be a little bit faster. So she was right off the time she posted in her individual 100 backstroke. For me, the storyline was more so not that whether she'd get the world record or not, but whether she would be able to beat C-Bomb again, which was down to the very end. It almost looked like it ended up being just over, I think, a half a second difference between their 100 backstroke splits, but I think it was because C-Bomb looked like she didn't have a great finish. So it was actually a pretty good race between those two. So I was just happy that Missy was able to clinch that win again, because sometimes when the relay, if C-Bomb would have won that, it could have been, well, that could have been my gold medal, but she obviously didn't do that in the race that mattered.
Yeah, and 4 gold medals for Missy, 4 golds and a bronze. Great debut for her. Like we said, we're just scratching the surface for Missy. John, I want to kind of get your thoughts on Allison Schmitt anchoring that relay. There's been a lot of people saying, Jessica Hardy could have done it even after doing the 50. What are your thoughts about Allison doing it?
I think they went with the right decision there. Allison had the hot meat. She was better suited, I think, for the end of that thing than Jessica Hardy was. If you saw Jessica Hardy's 100 freestyle, it wasn't exactly where it was at trials. And Allison, the way she finished off her 200, the way she looked in the 400, she was carrying enough speed, and I don't think you can argue with it now. She was 53.2. That was solid.
Yeah.
Better than.
Absolutely.
And I also think that they're all competitors, obviously, but there's something to me about Allison Schmitt that she's the person that you want to dig deep for you at the end of a relay if you're behind, if you're really need someone who's in for the chase, like how she did in the 800 freestyle relay from behind and came through. She just is an animal, and I feel like she's the type who can handle the pressure in the moment if need be.
Do you guys think it's going to be one of those, her last college season at Georgia's coming up, do you think it's just going to be one of those phenomenal NCAA performances that is one for the record books?
It's a possibility. At the same time, this is the ultimate high is here, and matching that intensity is going to be difficult. That said, her talent level is so vast that, yeah, she could throw some things out there that haven't been seen in short course yards.
It's going to be really exciting, and I'm already looking forward to that 200 freestyle between her and her teammate, Megan Romano, who, as we know, had an unbelievable American record performance at last year's NCAAs. So being that Megan just missed out on making the Olympic team this year, I think she's going to come with a fighting vengeance. So that's going to be a great one to watch next year.
Absolutely. Georgia's definitely anxious to get Allison back. All right, the men's 400 medley relay. We already talked about it being Phelps' final swim. A great final swim also for a lot of established veterans that have been around for a while. Brendan Hansen, Kosuke Kitajima. The list goes on and on and on across all 8 teams. The United States won 3:29.35, just 100th off the Olympic record and not too far off their world record as well. Japan finally gets that silver medal after fighting for bronze the last 2 Olympics. And Australia is kind of still not the meat that they wanted. I'm sure they were just still thinking they could have challenged for the gold here, but they got bronze. My question here is, now that people like Kosuke Kitajima is gone, what does Japan have to do to stay in that medal hunt with the U.S.? Because they, every year they have the first 3 legs, and now they're going to be missing the best breaststroker ever. Tiffany, do you think that there's still a chance that they could be on the medal stand, let's say even next year at World Championships?
Jeff, it's really hard to say because I would have thought Australia would have been way more in that race this year. I thought they would have been able to have a better performance overall, but I think that's just an example of making that early prediction. I thought Australia would have been a lot closer to the U.S. than they weren't. So I think Japan now, knowing that they had an incredible first 3 legs right in the race to the U.S. and then fell off on the freestyle, now they're going to be missing 2 legs. So that's going to be really detrimental, but I definitely think it's possible.
Well, they have Ryo Tateishi, who I don't think is retiring. So he was the second fastest breaststroker. He's been the second fastest breaststroker behind Kitajima. It's just a matter of whether he can have his 100 now be on par with his 200, where he, I believe, won bronze. So, it's just a matter of Japan just always missing that freestyler. We'll just have to see. All right, so let's finish up here with getting both of your overall grades for the meet. Let's start with you, John. What would you give this meet?
It's an Olympic Games. How can you not give it an A? Walking out of Beijing, you're thinking, how can a meet match up to that? Because you see the single greatest Olympic achievement of all time in terms of what Michael did then. But if you look at this meet on the whole, it didn't have the individual performance, but what it had was great twists and turns. It had spectacular efforts by Michael. It had some surprises. It had some rising teenagers come up. There really wasn't anything that was missing. And from that standpoint, you walk out of here and you say, wow, I was just treated to 15 great sessions of swimming, 8 great nights of finals, and what a big thing for the sport.
All right, Tiffany, what's your grade?
That's so hard. I'd have to agree. Maybe an A-, but I think it's only because there were some events that we had such high expectations, but while some of those expectations weren't met, there were other swims that just blew us away and clearly made up for those. So overall, I couldn't agree more with what John said. It was an amazing performance, 30 medals overall, which is only one less than they came away with in Beijing. So overall, the team did great. I might not rank some other countries quite so high, but I think the U.S. did a phenomenal job all around.
Well, I'm going to have to, I ranked Beijing as an A+, not just because of what Phelps did, but just the whole world as a whole. And I know it was in part due to the birth of the tech suits, but just the way that meet unfolded just was unlike any I'd ever seen before. And I'd have to give this one, it's almost an A+ for me. Not just because of what people like Phelps and Lochte and Franklin and Sony did, but we left there with 8 world records. I only was counting on 2 from, I was actually going to be Missy Franklin 200 back and Sun Yang in the 1500, and we walked away with 8 world records. All of them actually, except for Sun Yang's, were tech suit world records before that. Some of them we never thought were going to happen. So it was just really great to see those barriers being broken, those swimmers answering the challenge of trying to break those, and then also the upsets. I mean, I think Chad Leclos will obviously never forget that moment. I don't think I'll ever forget that moment of seeing him get to the wall 5/100ths of a second ahead of Michael Phelps in the 200 fly, and just for that alone just makes for an absolutely unforgettable meet. So I think we all have to say it's one of those definitely for the record books, and I guess on a and also just adding that it's Phelps' final meet, and how can we not grade it high for that? Well, we're all done here. This has definitely been a great 8 days spending it with you guys. I'm sure it's been great seeing it on the deck. I'm sure you have probably a little bit of ear damage from the noise in there. I can't imagine it's ever been quiet during any race. So thanks again, guys, for joining us, and we'll see you back here stateside soon.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, so for the last time, that's John Lohn and Tiffany Elias joining us from the London Aquatic Center. And we want to thank you all for joining us for 8 days of race day coverage here on Swimming World TV, and our thanks to Swim Outlet for sponsoring the shows. I'm Jeff Commings, and we'll be back here Monday with our regular editions of the Morning Swim Show. Thanks for watching.